the understanding of how she actually is such a phenomenal player. It happens to a lot of people, and Emily is here to prove that it's just memes, and she is here to absolutely slay. So we're going to jump into game number 2. Admirable Keen, go ahead and take it away.
Game 2, day 2 of the Dragonlands mid-set finale. There's one more day left to come in this one. We're kicking things off on Robin's board, who did pick up a win in the first lobby. And I will have to say that the memes oftentimes override the reality. It certainly feels like, as you know, it really affects my gameplay a lot here, Keen. I just feel like every single time I'm offered that meme opportunity, I'm like, well, I could take the busted augment, but I could also take this ridiculous one too.
You know, I think Sox was, I don't know if Sox is the one that said this, or coined this rather, but I did hear him say it once, and he said that when Soju is good, NA is good, and when Soju is bad, NA is bad. And it's because so many of us watch his stream and kind of follow what he does, that sometimes when he does these meme plays and goes for some of these first or eighth plays, I know it happens to me, so it probably happens to a lot of people as well. You're sitting there, you're thinking of augment, and then you hear Soju's voice in your head saying something that is maybe a little dumb, and then you end up doing it, and then you go eighth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely feel it's an eighth quite a bit, it seems like. Trainer kicked off for Robin here as well. It feels like this is honestly like the opening for when the trainer has been just absolutely highlighted as one of these super powerful aspects, is when you're able to connect it, I'd say quite literally on the 1-4 spot.
Yeah, getting it early, and then also he's staring at a Sedge 2 to have some frontline at the beginning of the game as well. Is a pretty good spot to be. We did see Robin navigate this comp at least once yesterday.
Pretty awkward on the item count. Tough, I'd say, to like really construct something here that is ideal. So the augment here, I think, a big deal. We're kicking things off silver, so silver stuff, I definitely feel like that this has been rolled a little bit aggressively on the stage 1 here, but Robin having some pretty strong options. I feel like that the rolling on the augments early on is something that is so identifiable to the way that a player plays the game. Like, are they aggressive? Are they flexible? Do they try to force things through? That always ends up feeling like how they end up rolling the augment, not necessarily whether it's gold, silver, or prismatic.
Yeah, I think that you never roll a silver. I feel like and I say never, and in the sense that I've done it. Like, I think it's like a 5% type thing, right? Where it does every now and then you get a silver augments that are literally unplayable for your spot, and you have to re-roll it. But in general, if you have something that looks playable, like Thieves Glove is always going to be, Band of Thieves is always going to be playable. You just take it here. Because it goes in line with what you were saying about how the items weren't looking particularly slammable. Getting Thieves Glove lets you shore that up a little bit. You got a couple more items coming in, and seeing him slam the Locket here is always a strong pick for a comp that's going to rely on a lot of backline positioning like Namzi.
Oh yeah, the Cavaliers free frontline too. They get to charge forward holding that shield. Already splash the damage, and kind of easy to connect. Very much in the Robin style. Play for tempo, pick up a big win streak. Let that be your economy on this one. Forget this paying life total for gold aspect.
Yeah, and Lilia is just a great unit early. Lilia is one of those units I think is phenomenal at holding items. She's great at holding those AP items that lets you transition into the Dejas, that lets you transition into Ao Shin or Aurelian Soul. And so I think in terms of AP scaling, this is one of the better ones. You can even go Nivea, and I'm a big fan of the Deer coming in early there, so his board's looking quite solid. Clear got the early Nunu, not a bad early unit either.
Yeah, we also got to see Clear shore up the day yesterday with a Varus roll, where you had mentioned at the start of the day it's like having press the attack or having double trouble. Like, that was a way to highlight Varus. Clear had both of those in the final game of yesterday with the press the attack and the double trouble with the Varus build.
Yeah, certainly not a bad place to be. I believe Clear's also the one that had the Recombobulator, where his Varus bumped up to a Talon 3. Certainly one of the more fun things that can happen in TFTs when you get Recombobulator on 4-2. And I believe that's one of my favorite augments. Always mixed results, of course, but certainly a fun one to take.
We had a quote from Clear during the Jade Cup when we asked the players about their play style. And his quote was, if the Soju special is going 9 with 10 HP and then dying, then the Clear special is going 7 with 20 HP on 3-5 and then dying before the third augment. To give you sometimes a demonstration of his playstyle. It's very much like a forceful aspect, but he's going to be tending to force, I think, what he thinks is the most powerful build, or just the most powerful available at that time. Very much often will lean into the loose streaking strategy. But when he's offered strategies like this, I have noticed that he tends to play for tempo pretty well, and it's a lot of little changes that happen to his board seemingly throughout the course of the game.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious which item he got, whether he slammed the Shiv or if he slammed the Redemption, and which one came from the Augment. I think both are are slammable. So, but I'm assuming he got redemption off of the augment, so that's certainly a good one to get. I don't know if you're just gonna get a random item. Goes well with most boards.
I would assume it's the Sliv Sham as well, or the Shiv Slam as well. You know, when you have that belt hanging out, it's like Sunfire's almost always going to be one of the items that's on your mind.
Yeah,
the first carousel
definitely feels bad to be killing a belt early for a redemption, even though redemption's a pretty good item. You know,
it's a true story.
I do miss old redemption. I remember the big circle that would come up. You pair redemption with GA. It was maybe the most toxic interaction in the game, and then but it was one of my favorites. And of course, more has to take away everything that I love, and so
you're grounded. That's what created the mean Mr. Keen aspect.
Yeah, I used to be very kind to Mr. Keen.
Dishsoap kind of beelining for the spatula here.
It's an interesting take, especially on a silver lobby. What is his augment here? Dishsoap on the left has Electro Charge as his first augment. Could be indicating an early spat usually means you're looking for a Cavalier, perhaps a Mirage. Or on rare situations, you're looking to make a Dragonmancer spat and leaning towards the Anivia that we just saw. Stellarman, he tried to pilot last game and unfortunately couldn't quite get the board online.
I've seen Dishsoap go for quite a number of Legends builds lately. I feel like when I watch their stream, and kind of looking at emilyywang's board here. This
is an insane start. So you got a Shimmer Scale into a Draven's Axe with a Yone 2 at 100 health. And now she can also slam the Bloodthirster if she wants. She can also greed a little bit. You could slam Zeke's here as well and get some attack speed. I would have to imagine...
That's not even bad here in this spot. All your item slams are good.
The Bloodthirster has to be the item. You get the 3 items on this Yone. I'm surprised to see that she had slammed the Shimmer Scale spat onto the Yone itself, though. It feels like you're losing a slot there.
Might have just been your first instinct on it. Give some extra health to this unit that's going to be dealing the damage. It has the Draven's Axe. Why not give it some extra health?
Yeah.
Extra health is extra attacks.
Extra 150s. Could be the difference, even in this fight here.
Wow. And honestly, that's pretty low down to the bottom.
That's a Shimmer Scale spat gap.
That's wait, Shimmer Scale, is it provide damage actually? Or health? That is a very good question. I think that Shimmer Scale emblem might provide damage.
Oh, it might be damage because it's sword with the spatula. A lot of these augments are 150 health, but you're right. It might actually just be 10 damage.
Yeah, it is actually 10 attack damage on the Shimmer Scale.
That is my bad. 10 extra damage. Perhaps was still the gap there though. But in either case, Emily's spot is quite good here. 62 stacks already on the Draven's Axe. A couple upgraded units.
I like the Draven's Axe thing. I mean, this is just really the highlight of the board. And then in addition to that, it's like, oh, by the way, the board is really strong. Like this is like an actual first place setup here that Emily has in place. Yeah,
in terms of being able to get first, this is one of the premier openings for being able to reach that situation. One of the questions I do have though is Shimmer Skills, one of those comps that has a lot of expression in terms of how you can play it as you go on. There's a lot of questions. You go up to 7. If you go, that seems to be the preferred spot for most players. Sometimes you go 9, play the Crown, and sometimes you cut down to 5. It just kind of varies depending on which items are being dropped, which spots you want to be, and what kind of carries you have. So it'll be interesting to see how she decides to pilot the Shimmer skill.
Robin got the win streak snapped as well as Clear picked up a 4 win streak. Yeah, that's a pretty huge difference from the top to the bottom here. This feels like one of those Canyon differential games where Darth Nub and Dishsoap sitting at 66 and 68 respectively. That's one of those you have to dedicate to the loss streak to make the economy stable, and then this is invariably going to speed up your inflection point, which tends to have a cascading effect on the rest of the lobby. If you end up hitting, it means that other players are going to have to hit. So this is a pretty volatile position I feel like this lobby's in.
This is one of the games where if I'm in Darth Nub spots or Dishsoap spot and I look up at Emily's board and I see that she's streaking and she has Draven's Axe, this is where I start pulling like a YouTube video on the side, and I'm like, all right, this game's over. I'm just gonna make sure I'm having fun. Let's keep my mental going, and I'll just watch like some K-pop videos on the right monitor as my left monitor. We'll just ride out the game and see if we can get a 6.
Now let's say that you're in day 2 of the Dragonlands Mid Set Finale, and you're in game number 2. in Darth Nub or Dishsoap spot, where you had a bottom 4 from either of those players' perspectives. Are you still pulling up a K-pop video, or are you going to be sweating super hard?
Okay, if this was actually me, I would have already had the K-pop video up just as a mental thing, you know?
Oh,
but in terms of actually, like, in terms of what they should be doing here, I think it's a situation, you look at Emily's board and you say, okay, I have to trust that she's good enough to pilot this to a top 1, top 2. And so I need to adjust expectations at this point. And so any play that you're making where it's like, oh, this is going to increase my top 1 rate, but lower my top 4 rate, you don't make that play. It's very unlikely you're getting a first in this lobby, and so you should always be making plays that are increasing your top 4 rate from this spot. So stuff like rolling on 3-2 is always going to be something that increases your top 4 rate, but lowers your top 1 rate. Rolling more on 4-1, same type of situation, and so I do expect to see players towards the bottom of the standings here kind of lean more towards those angles. Though if we get a big prismatic augment, for example, here, that might change some of that.
Well, here's the augment angle. It's gold.
And the gold probably is not enough. So I would definitely be looking for like what is going to get me a top 4, a top 6 even from this spot. Just because Emily is going to be so strong, she's going to be slamming the lobby, and so you really gotta like Souless spot for example. Sitting at 88 health, not too bad. I think his board's strong. You could roll for the Anivia, but I think Anivia 1 with these items is going to be able to deal enough damage, especially with 4 Guardians in, for you to be able to stabilize a little bit, especially with the weak spot already, so don't even need the anti-healing necessarily right now.
Yeah. Weak spot in Axiom Arc, no less, so if this Anivia starts piecing together some picks from the Jade Gauntlet, I'm sorry, the Jeweled Gauntlet here, I don't know, I guess Jade Gauntlet's kind of an accurate description of this. I digress. If you start picking up some kills here with this, the Axiom Arc is really going to accelerate that damage process as well, so when you're defeating players, it's kind of a punish.
Axiom Arc's a really interesting take. So if you watch the intro video, something Sola said is that he is somebody, or even, I don't know if it was the intro, but I heard him say that he is a type of player who will pick augments based more on instinct than necessarily on numbers. You'll see a lot of players pull up websites where they'll like, you know, what is the average placement of this one? Oh, it's a 4.1 or whatever. Solas has said that he kind of picks more based on instinct, things that he's comfortable with. Axiom Arc's one of those augments that has a fairly low average placement, and so this is highlighting exactly what Solas was talking about when he says, okay, I'm going to pick what I'm comfortable with necessarily. This is a close fight here, and I mean that might be an Axiom Arc gap right there.
That was really close. This is honestly a very clever positioning here, I think, from Dishsoap as well, to have this Cavalier on the front line under a Deja perspective. At this point, it's like a mana battery aspect, where it's just you want this to cast and wipe out as much of the board as you can. You're not necessarily expecting a win. You're expecting to take less damage from this. I think this is a really clever take on Dishsoap's side.
Yeah, this shop also apparently received this Deja from a Krugstrop, is what I'm told, which is a very fortunate spot to be. And so putting it in front with the Cav spat usually indicates that he is not I don't think he intends on staying with this board. You see him holding on bench there a Volley Bear, a couple of Niveas. This could very well be a legend angle.
I definitely think it's a legend angle from this spot. Your items are not necessarily leaning that direction, I feel like, at the moment. But a lot of things can adapt to this one. You know, Legends doesn't have, I'd say, like a defined item build to it. It's more just like the effectiveness of the spots that are getting there. In this spot, the Deja not quite enough. That's a big hit. A Dishsoap's taking. So 3-5, I feel like, is the ship it here spot for Dishsoap.
Yeah, you know that when you're playing a tank Deja, that your spot is not ideal. So sitting at 44 health, you're going to see him level up and roll pretty quickly here, and it's kind of an Ornn raiding room. If you can hit the early Ornn, hit a Volley 2 and an Anivia 2, maybe he's able to stabilize. Either case, his item spot is quite awkward, though, so I'm taking the ride here, I think, with a couple swords on his bench, might lean towards an Anivia carry angle, but we'll see what he decides to go.
Certainly think it can add up. You know, Cavalier, Nivea with Legends and Hextech Gunblade can be a lot of damage overall. When I'm looking at the rest of the augments on the left side here, 2 players with Ascension as well. You know, if you're not killing lineups very quickly with your build, the Ascensions can really take over in these builds that are mostly based around attrition. I feel like you can really take over those spots and apply some pressure.
Yeah, Ascension is also one of those augments that if you see an Anivia playing in your lobby, Ascension can be quite good into that. Just because Anivia players, I think, will struggle with ending fights quickly. You're almost always guaranteed to hit that 15 second. Imagine a 15-minute fight. A 15-second threshold
into the game, and your
for
damage
Ascension.
is 50% more.
Yeah, I mean, it's like those old. If you remember the set 2 where it'd be Zed versus Zed fights, where they would just flood the board with Zed clones. Imagine that for 15 minutes.
Please bring it back.
Wow, I'm actually a little surprised he chose not to roll here. I guess he thought he was strong enough, and he seems to be right. Especially with now the Gunblade coming on this Deja, it's a very strong pseudo tank. So I talked a lot of crap about tank Deja, but here he is, proving me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the Cavalier frontline caster thing, I feel like, was definitely introduced into this set, and I think it was quite a strong introduction. It really kind of opens your mind on, like, well, what's a unit supposed to do? What's it actually supposed to do? The answer is you're supposed to make the most of it. So, what the most of it is, that's a whole other story at that point. But this was, I think, a great recognition on Dishsoap's side. It might have had a lot to do with the opponents he was expecting to face. And just trying to keep some of that economy up as he's rolling, like slowly piece it together. You don't have to have a giant jump. You just have to jump enough. So that's really, I think, a hard thing to identify.
Does he actually... I don't think you ever make this Deja, right? So he's sitting here. The reason he's rolling here is because he just won that round. He would like to carry a 2-streak into neutrals. I think if he had lost that previous round, he probably would have just taken the lost streak and then send it on 4-1.
Lots of Cavs coming in.
Yeah, it's a lot of Cavs. Get the 4 Mirage in. And if he can win here, he can still make 30, which...
That's the big one. Jade aspect got
quite a nice threshold to hit.
Dumped on this one, but I feel like a lot of this Jade aspect getting dumped is related specifically to the fact that it was Guardians, and you're just about to get away from that. It's not enough here, but again, I think not taking a big hit is one of the big objectives here. You're just trying to wean away as much of the damage as you can.
Yeah, that's just a tough matchup. If you're playing Electric Overload, you have frontline Deja, and it's just getting pounded on by Corki. Obviously, Electric Overload's not getting any value there. It's just a big comp with a lot of range. And Deja, obviously, unlike melee units, is not going to walk up. That's with Electric Overload, you're usually playing around Leona, usually playing around Yone, stuff that can just walk up and apply it. But Deja is obviously just going to be stuck there, even if it's on the front line. So if it's a unit comp that doesn't have a lot of melee, it's going to just counter that board. So you saw him get kind of slammed there.
Wow, Darth Nub undergoing some major operations on this board right now, where they have clearly shifted into the legend aspect. The items, I think, are pretty set up for it as well. You have a lot of gold for it, thanks to that Draven's Axe that was cranking out some stuff. You have a few items set up in place for this. Don't necessarily get anything for that final piece onto this Volibear, though. So Darth Nub, he already has the QSS on the Skarner. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, so he's gonna be able to roll and hit quite a bit here. His spot's certainly better, looking quite good, especially compared to Dishsoap, who was looking like he might also pivot into this angle. But I think it's going to be a lot more unappealing now that Darth Nub has full committed to this, and he should have been able to scout that earlier and notice. So I would be curious to see what Dishsoap ended up going with. You saw the Navy 2 being made down there. So it might be a double Volibear contest in this lobby, which is very strange. Like, a single Volibear already feels bad sometimes, so let alone it being contested.
Archangel's put in on the Anivia here as well. Darth Nub, I cannot believe how much this board changed in just a 2-round spot here. And this is just speaking, I think, of the strong experience that Darth Nub has and the strong understanding that they have. Like, even if you don't win this round, I think this is just an impressive movement of this gold around.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's enough here. It's going to be a pretty tight fight.
Lulu has a big hit.
Another charge, another bite.
Now there's the shield.
That did no damage, so... Yeah, I mean, it's with the Bloodthirster, Celestial Blessing, there's no anti-healing left at that point. That Volibear is too big.
And then the 4-2 augment is now in place, and wow. Another gold augment, and I feel like this is about to be some big stuff.
Love Ascension if you're playing Volibear.
Yeah. Your whole goal is to have Volibear live the entire round, and that takes a long time for the damage to come through.
Maybe you're looking at Eye of the Storm. It's kind of a fun little combo. You stick it right in the middle.
Wow.
Wow, he did take Eye of the Storm.
Wow.
Yeah, so you stick the Volibear, and I don't know if this is the right play, to be honest with you, but sticking it in the bear right in the middle, yeah, I mean, it is guaranteed to go off. It's going to be an extra 135 AP onto this Volibear. I'll be excited to see how much these slaps do. This is a very strong Lightning Bear.
I'm curious how much of this also relates to the idea of just preserving gold so that you can find the rest of this. Like, if you go with Ascension here, you need to start 2-starring some stuff, and you need to pick this up. If you have the additional AP on the Volibear, perhaps you can kind of, via the Bryce explanation of game number 1, duct tape some stuff together here. Duct tape is still an effective tool if you can figure out how to use it.
I would love to see the damage difference here, because Ascension's going to apply the 50% extra damage after 15 seconds. The Tempest augment goes off after 10 seconds and gives you 130 AP. I don't quite know which one is more. I assume this is stronger, but that's just for one unit. So everything is all in on the Volibear now.
It makes a lot of sense to me. It's like all of your damage is coming from Volibear, and the tremendous amount of AP that you get from that eye, the center of the Eye of the Storm there is like all of it is outscaling the Ascension from that one particular unit. It makes sense kind of if you think about it. It just isolates your position is all.
We're got an interesting word here. You'll see the frontline Heimer with the frontline Namzi. So a lot of people play backline Namzi these days, but I think people do forget that one of the perks about Namzi is beyond the new damage buff, she can also be a very strong tank. So if you feel like you're lacking in frontline, just put the Namzi in the front line and let it eat some damage. It's still going to get a cast off, might get 2 off.
What about the Lulu in the front line as well? These are some actual trainers here. They're like follow this direction here. Lulu's going to be sheeping some of the front line here.
Yeah, Lulu frontline's always been a little bit of a thing. If you always need frontline, she's just been one of the units that's going to cast a few times and just stall for your backline. Unfortunately, emilyywang has circumvented the frontline with the assassin. We saw the little bug pop up telling us that she got a tome that gave her an assassin spat. She's also sitting on Nico's help on the bench there with double siphon. She has a lot of options for what she can do from this spot. Is continuing that early game strength.
emilyywang had a win streak through stage 3 as well, so all of the damage has been suffered here in stage 4 as she continues to build up gold on level 8. This is looking like a level 9 aspect from Emily's side, and again, kind of a pretty harsh cascade down all the way to Dishsoap at 22, casparwu at 23, and Souless at 34. So I feel like this Treasure Dragon is going to be a major aspect of this because everyone's starting to piece together boards here. And a lot of players overlapping in direction, sharing direction as well. I think that they're sharing that aspect that you mentioned in stage 3, which is, look, I am not going to win this lobby here. How do I make top 4? And that typically means fighting pretty aggressively, I'd say, in stage 4 here.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see a lot of people roll. You see Casper actually pushed for 8 here. Was probably able to find an early Xiaoyu, early Nico. That you usually need 1 star of each to be able to push for 8. Hitting the Nivea is going to be big. A Nico hit is quite a big deal. Yep, you just have to sell and make.
It's just, you could lock. Just feels like. Why?
I don't like this positioning on the Xiaoyu. I guess this spot ends up being quite good, or just okay, but I generally like it on the far left or the far right for the wrap. Putting it in the middle, you just kind of walk onto the front line tank. In this case, it was Itis. Worked out though.
Well, these assassins getting punished by this backline. I feel
just
like that maybe could have been a big aspect of it.
Yeah, Assassin's just a hard matchup or Assassins have a very difficult matchup into Jade. There's just so much going against it. Anivia is extremely good into Sins. Nico, extremely good into Sins. Basically, any of these AoE clumps. And of course, Siphon, or Xiaoyu, one of the premier units against Assassins as well. It's just always a losing matchup. Definitely a rock, paper, scissors type situation there.
Dishsoap falling to 15. Darth Nub on a win streak. Only highlighted player from that one. And then again, this casparwu spot, this feels pretty straightforward from here. I've been a big fan of Jade, and when you can put together 9 Jade, it feels like that is massive. And this feels like a pretty solid 9 Jader here.
Yeah, that's the other thing. We talked about this a bit yesterday, where 9 Jade being the premier. Like, if you're going to play Xiaoyu, the difference between 9 Jade and 6 Jade, the numbers tell the whole story. 9 Jade Xiaoyu has a much higher average placement. The 9 is just a huge spike. You get the extra Jade statue in. It'll let you split your board a little bit, like what he does is pretty standard split, full left, full right. And you're seeing quite a few Siphon players here. Emily's still sitting on the Nico's help on the bench. I'm curious what she is going to use it on. I think a lot of people would have stemmed it already on the Siphon, but she is kind of reading it out. Let's see where she decides to go with.
I am kind of curious about this one, because this is a Shimmer Scale being placed onto this Siphon as well, so this tells me this is a placeholder. But you have a lot of Assassin spatulas going on right now. Like this feels like it's not a bad commitment from this perspective either. There's a lot going on here. I feel dizzy, and I'm just looking at the board.
I'm also very dizzy looking at her board. I think she's looking for a Pike. I don't know if it was already in. Yeah, it looks like Pike is the missing puzzle piece here. I would assume Pike comes in over.
Ooh. Those are some pretty solid items.
Oh, wow. Wait. So she sold?
She sold a Siphon to free up items, which tells me that the Shimmer Scale was not supposed to be there.
But if that was the case, you could have just re-rolled.
I mean, there's a lot going on here. This is not an easy spot.
Maybe that was on for Didn't she just slam it? I don't know. This I would love to watch this game from start to finish to see what happened. I am a bit paralyzed, as you will, in terms of trying to figure out what happened to get to this spot. And looks like she's kind of rolling through a few things here as well. Definitely a Pike waiting room, though. Pike really finishes this board off nicely. Gives you the extra 6 Whisper. And she's in a spot where she's now rolling for a Siphon 2. She had a pair. But did she... Okay, so she re-rolled that. I believe she slammed...
Pretty solid spatula hit there.
Yeah, that's definitely a nice one. I believe she slammed the Shimmer Scale spat onto the Siphon last turn, so maybe there was a misclick or something. I'm not quite sure what happened there that forced her to remake. But that is undesirable. She's still sitting on Nico's help. She's still sitting at 47 health, and the board's certainly not bad. I would not be terribly worried about her having an awful finish to this game, but I'm definitely a little puzzled as to how it got to this point.
I feel like that the Shimmer Scale thing...
Oh my god, that Lee
my
Sin
goodness.
just... Hello?
Whoa. This is like the Souless special here. You were talking about how he just tends to play a lot via instinct, and that's exactly what this Lee Sin is looking like right now. My gosh.
That's a Lee Sin
just melted the board.
That's a straight out Taco Bell Wi-Fi's book there. A well-known Lee Sin player on the ladder. Repping his boy.
Dishsoap going out in 8th.
I mean, we called it earlier. Dishsoap's spot looked quite bad, even on stage 3, and he was unable to salvage it. Looked like one of his outs was Volley Bear, but you're seeing here there's 3 Volley Bears here. You saw Darth Nub really is still streaking and had stabilized with the full pivot into the Legend board. So it might have been a situation where the comp he wanted to transition to was 1, not very good to begin with, and 2 was then contested, and there's not many options once that happens.
Yeah, it's one of those spots where it's going to be tough to deal with. Darth Nub has been able to put together a pretty strong outlook on this one, though. Wow, this is some pretty strong Thieves' Gloves that got pieced together here as well. This Volley Bear's not going anywhere.
Yep.
And that's really going to hurt that Lee Sin at that point.
If you're looking for the counter, a single Quicksilver Sash is going to prevent Lee Sin from having any sort of fun. It is the big anti-fun item, and that Volley Bear just went to town.
Indeed. And so I'm looking at the rest of this lobby right now. Clear and Casper having a very long fight taking place on that one. Clear going to be taking the hit. And again, it just feels like everyone's board here was pieced together in such a different manner where it felt like everyone was rushed to get to this kind of point. And so the cap on this one feels a lot softer, I'd say, than some of the other boards that we've seen so far. Looking at Bertasaurus' board here. Not a bad looking Siphon on the front, but still a quirky one with no items in the back. And just how does this board get better? It feels like everything's reliant on this front line, like bootleg tank aspect that's taking place.
Yeah, but I mean, that's an extra 700 in shielding from the Heimerdinger. Just having a couple of those lockets there. 700 across 5 units is going to be 3,500 health. That is nothing to scoff at.
Dude, is not. It's like so much of it is in this Siphon's hands right now. Like, where do they charge and where do they hit? Not bad. Souless did not have the damage to handle this one properly. And this is a big hit that Souless is taking. I think that this is out of the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason Lee Sin carry is not particularly meta at the moment. And unfortunately for Souless, the creativity is not enough to make it good.
And like you said, a lot of Siphon players in this lobby as well. It feels like everyone's got a pair of them.
Yeah, there's been a lot of Siphon overall in this tournament. People have been really favoring that dragon. He's had a very good resurgence in this patch.
Sora's taking ZZ route here, says, you know what, I just want to keep the frontline aspect going. Let's give this Soda as much time as we can while the Siphon's charging around.
An extra, I mean, Bert's sitting on 5 health there. Next closest person is 23. He's win streaking. It's going to be difficult. He needs 2 wins and maybe Clear loses 2 in a row. But he does have some more frontline now. He's got the Siphon too, so you're just looking for a couple of good charges.
You're also looking for a Silas there as well. Just get that extra Whisper in play, plus to have the Bruiser aspect.
This is an interesting spot for sure.
So much of this feels like it's related to what your matchup is.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I was talking about, Namzi. Sometimes you hit stuff and it just feels like you still lose. The Namzi comp can be quite inconsistent. It just depends on the rest of the lobby. He is against Clear, who's stuck on 1-star Siphon, and that might be the difference here.
And that back line crushes the Namzi.
I will say, Clear has better items on Siphon, though. Clear also has the Zoe in, and it's not going to be enough. That Siphon 1, Siphon 2. This is exactly what he needed to happen. He needed to beat Clear, and needs Clear to lose a couple in a row. And Emily's starting to lose some fights now as well. But Clear is now probably one, if he's fortunate, 2 lives away. And so Bert might be able to sneak up into a 5th here. Thanks to that one. But you do see Clear hit the critical Siphon 2 at the last second.
That is a very important hit. This lobby just like completely flipped over. The only difference is that Robin was stayed on top pretty much this whole time.
Yeah, man, Robin keeping tempo. Any of these lobbies that feel kind of like dog eat dog, kind of all scrapping for parts, or as Bryce was talking about last game, this duct tape kind of, if not duct tape board, duct tape kind of lobbies. Robin is a scrappy guy. He's able to climb out on top.
It's definitely one of the strengths I think that Robin has, is if you just have to piece something together and watch it work. He knows that one. And then Darth Nub still with the win streak here. This Eye of the Storm has proved to be very effective so far from the Volibear aspect. Darth Nub sitting at 50 gold on level 8 with the big win streak. Very little has been changed to this board since he picked up that Eye of the Storm. But this Siphon 2 looking like it might be enough to clear this up. That Namzi still alive and pressing the damage as well. Oh, yeah. But the Volibear's piecing together some hits here.
This volley is going to get it. Oh, it's so close. That volley was just a couple autos away from being able to snap that fight back the other direction.
Continued with the Siphon just steamrolling the board.
You're going to see this Namzi level up to 4-star Namzi for Clear after this. You can see Bert went out, unfortunately, in 6. Emily is now struggling. We were talking earlier about Emily perhaps being in a position where she could win it all. Something went deeply wrong on stage 4. We saw the Nico's help. We saw a couple Siphons. Whatever happened there, maybe got a little too confusing, and she was unable to navigate it to have a strong stage 5. But hope has not gone yet. Maybe she's able to snap back.
Much of this is items are on the board for Clear here. I think this is a reforge, unless you're just really valuing the attack speed, which I will take. I will take the Zephyr much more.
You will definitely take the Zephyr. Certainly one of the best items you can get on this stage. Now, where your matchup becomes a lot more defined, you see that on the right side, you can only draw Clear or Casper, or she can only draw Clear or Casper. So you do need to be watching for that Zephyr at this point. Yeah, Emily stuck on Siphon 1 is going to be. She has Nico's help here, though. I'm curious. At this point, yeah, you just have to Nico the Pike. Unfortunately, it doesn't have too many items on it. I think she would have liked to see another Siphon, perhaps Reforge Pike 2, move items over. This is one of those situations. She had the pair of Siphons earlier, had the Nico's help, and was unable to hit the Siphon 2.
I feel like the Siphon getting Zephyred is such a big liability here as well. Let's charge into the other.
Oh,
Siphon?
The Pike is doing some work.
This could be a big deal here. This Siphon's going to get another charge off. But, there's just too much board left.
Oh, but it hit the other Siphon. Oh, that targeting. It is up against Ascension, but I don't know if there's enough. Oh, the Namzi. Oh, there goes Namzi 4 with the finish. This is what I'm talking about. Namzi is a secondary carry for Siphon. That is going to knock Emily out in 5th, despite such a strong start. I would assume she would love to have that game back. I think some things were navigated incorrectly or perhaps misfortunately on stage 4, stage 5, but 5th, not an awful place to go out on.
Emily started out with a 3rd place finish, now 5th place finish, so averaging still pretty reasonably on the points. But for Robin here, Robin kicked off a win in game number 1, sitting in the top 4 at the number 1 spot here in lobby number 2. Darth Nub started out with an 8th place finish, so a big turnaround so far for them. casparwu started out with a 7th place, big turnaround.
This is really smart. The front line Zephyr makes your whole front line go up in front. Unfortunately, one thing that's rough about that is once he drops back, the Siphon ends up charging back to the Silas here, which you don't want to see. Let's see where the second charge goes, right into the corner, but it gets interrupted, so it does not quite hit the Corki. The Corki's still up and hitting. Corki is...
Bad Siphon charge from Liquid Robin's side.
It's only a 1-star Corki, though, but it's staying alive, just barely. And it's unfortunately eventually going to go down. This is going to be a Siphon 2 gap. Yeah, the whole lobby everybody playing Siphon.
Lear goes
that was
out.
Robin Siphon, yeah. So Robin Siphon was able to get the upper hand. And you see Darth Nub sitting on 7 Volibears. That's going to be 8. It's 1 away.
And this get done. These last couple rolls.
He just rolled over Yasuo as well. Oh, this feels bad. Well, fortunately, he still has 28 health. So at this point, looking fairly stable still. But I do have to assume a Volibear 3 could be enough to win this lobby. You saw the strength of the boards elsewhere. You're not seeing any Ocean 2s. You're not seeing Shyvana 2s or Aurelion Soul 2s. Everybody's kind of stuck on these level 8 boards, just kind of rolling every turn.
It's like the strength of the Volibears in that aspect, where everyone's kind of stuck and rolling.
Yeah, we got a Morello roll. This Ornn is not casting. Oh, he got it off. Does he get the chart? Nope. Unfortunately, Ornn's not able to get the knockup up, which is going to be pretty difficult. Ascension goes off for Casper as well. And like I said, Ascension is very good into Volibear. You're almost always guaranteed to get it off. And this Shioyu is going to be the difference.
Stuns onto that Volibear really wrap things up if you're not able to clear up the board. That's a lot of Mystic on Casper's side as well. Casper and Darth Nub tied now.
You just need that Volibear. Oh, there's a Volibear. You basically have to deny it, right? Yeah, so Casper has to deny it. So Casper denies the Volibear smartly. There's that's some guaranteed anti-healing. You see Casper with a thumbs up. Just a little bit of gamesmanship there to let him know that he was paying attention.
Sometimes it's better to just deny the aspect, and Robin has been saving up the gold here.
You see Robin also holding a couple Volibears on the bench. I believe this is what you would call rat.
I love the dedrafting aspect. I think this is one of the most difficult to measure aspects of the game, but just when it measures, it feels so vitally important to winning.
I always will deny I am also a bit of a rat, and I do think I know chat spamming rat right now. We all know it when we see it. We all know we do it.
See how this board can shape up. Robin has been saving the gold to try to capture a guaranteed first place aspect.
You know, Darth Nub's watching this and rooting for Robin here. This is a very difficult matchup for Casper. I think Corki is very strong into Jade, and of course the Siphon is also going to do some work on the back line. You're going to see Corki go on to the Shioyu here.
Shioyu's not dying, though.
But he's not dying. The Ascension's up. It's just not enough. You need the Shioyu to come back, or the Siphon to come back and kind of protect your Corki a little bit. But just unfortunately, the Ascension is going to be the big difference here. Just not quite enough for Robin. Casper stays alive for another turn. Darth Nub
stays alive. The healing from Casper. Soraka, is that going to be a difference?
Darth Nub hits it. That's volley 3. You see it on the side there. So volley 3, this could be the difference. It's hard to say. But you see, he's eating this Nunu here. And this is one of the things you do want to be seeing. This is one of the other variants of how to play Legend is you play just 3 Dragonmancer, but you run a bunch of Cavs with it. Cavs have a lot of built-in armor and magic resist that Volibear and friends can kind of eat up. And then you stack aura items on it, and that's a lot of stats that this 3-star Volibear is about to eat. It's about to get a huge injection of AP from the Tempest augment. See how much damage 3-star Volibear actually can do.
And Nivea also soaking up the Dragon's Claw there too. It's just I think it's just a cool design that's happening there. But this Volibear, oh my gosh, this thing is such a difference right now.
Yeah, you see
and how much damage it's dealing.
Oh, the lightning charges is blowing apart this backline. You see, there's a full focus on this Volibear now, and it looks like it will not be enough. Yeah, that bite was not able to do enough. You see this bear just starting to ramp up.
Wow.
And there's just not enough damage on Robin's board, even though he's level 9. He's praying for casparwu to be able to take out Darth Nub here.
Casper going up to 12, winning that fight as well. Rage Blade introduced, not a big deal for Darth Nub's side. I'd say that this is a fairly useless item at this point, given the way that this front line is built out right now.
Yeah, this is. I guess you give it to Ashe and just here, Ashe. It's like giving. It's like when you're playing games as a kid and you have to give an unplugged controller to your little sibling. This is the win series for Ashe, and like Ashe in the corner over there is like, oh yeah, I'm playing this game with my buddies.
You have such beautiful analogies, Keen.
Hey, I do believe the way the matchups shake out, Darth Nub and Casper will be fighting each other here, and this will be a fight to determine who goes third and who has a chance for first.
2-star Soraka. Every little piece can matter in this spot. When is this Zoe the potential viabilities. This is the denial sort of aspect here. You have the pair of bards,
Yeah,
so
I mean,
nothing can really change here in terms of just your gold count. This is all positioning for Casper's spot.
Yep.
and hoping
Zoe's
that it pans
never
out
coming
right.
in. Just holding the Zoe so Robin doesn't hit it. And yeah, we'll see what happens. He's going to position to see how he can deal with this volley bear. So the way this is positioning, it seems like he wants Siphon, or excuse me, Shioyu to just walk onto the volley bear as soon as possible. It's unfortunately going to be on the Ornn first. Perhaps they can deny the Ornn cast, though. Last time the Ornn was not able to get the Ram off.
Ooh, a kick onto the Nico
And
as
you're
well.
going to see the Ram goes off this time, though. And so, Ornn able to complete this cast before dying.
Oh
Unfortunately,
my
this volley bear
gosh.
is still sitting on full health. QSS no longer in effect, though, so you could be looking at a full CC chain from Shioyu, especially with the
Bard?
ascension up.
Oh, the volley bear. The Ash, though, is starting to like really kick in for like a permanent reduction on the attack speed.
Yeah, the bear is just a little too much here, and Casper is going to go out with this volley bear. We saw that transition on 4-1, and Darth Nub's been able to carry it all the way into stage 7. It's him versus Robin now, and let's see if Robin's able to cobble up together a board that's actually strong enough to beat this volley bear. I do think you need Yasuo, and Yasuo is one of the units that can be the great equalizer against a big unit like this.
Yeah, it just you get isolated down to the volley bear aspect, and then the Yasuo picks it off regardless of how much health is left. It is like the natural counter in the game to this one. I've been talking about it since the start, where Darth Nub, I feel like, is such a well-researched player, has knowledgeable, is very organized, and when you saw that transition from the end of Stage 3 into the start of Stage 4, it was such a big change to get to this Legends aspect. I feel like it's been executed perfectly now. And against Robin, I will say that Zoe shield onto
That
the
Zoe
Siphon
shield
is very scary.
was very big. That shield lets a Siphon charge away. Again, get a second. If Siphon's able to get one more bite here onto this volley bear, that could be the difference. But they are stuck on Ornn right now. That backline is unable. Oh, did he waste that bite there? Oh no, he wasted a bite onto that 1 health Ornn. That is not what you want to see.
Oh.
This volley bear is going to mop up the rest of Robin's team here. Oh, and we are down to the last fight. This bear is doing some work.
Eye of the Storm proving why it's so valuable here too. It was just a bigger impact to damage. All of your damage is sourced from this volley bear right now, so why not take the one that deals more damage? Forget the positioning aspect. You just need the volley bear to be attacking. It doesn't matter what it's attacking.
That's just, I mean, bear is gonna bear. And Robin's sitting here just scratching his head. What can he even do? He's got Namzi in the spot where it looks like it'll cast across the line, across that whole front, and it might be baited by Lee Sin this time though.
Change the position here a little bit. That's gonna kick away the Siphon if it has enough time.
And Siphon is able to charge over and instantly get on this Nivea. Getting the Nivea off the board early is actually pretty helpful as well. Siphon's going to stay alive and charge away. Oh, the bear just follows him. The bear's at a half health already, though. But Siphon is dead. That is not what you want to see. There is no anti-healing left on Robin's board. This bear is just going to go to town. You got Ash still applying and eating some stuff in the back. This is going down. The bear is just going to clean up, though. There is just not enough damage, not enough anti-healing left, and you're going to see Volley Bear clean it up.
Darth Nub, a big change at the end of Stage 3 on a low health count. A different style of augment take at the end. Just centers the bear.